Hi friends, today we're back with another palette collection video, but we are specifically focusing on my purple palettes. I did have some interest from the last video to specifically hone in on the purple palettes in my collection. I hope that you guys really enjoy this. I have mentioned many times on my channel, purple is just one of my favorite colors, and I just wanted to spend a little bit more time digging into that color story with you guys. So if you're interested, let's go ahead and get into it. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, guys. I'm erika.tesla. This is another faceless video. We're here just focusing on the palettes themselves. If you are new to my channel, thank you so much for deciding to click on this video. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. This might be a video that you were interested in seeing. I did a palette collection declutter video not too long ago, and it drew a lot of interest, and I mentioned as I was going through those palettes that purple is just one of my favorite colors. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into these purple palettes. I probably won't swatch all of them because I do have some content already of swatches of palettes, but knowing me, there are gonna be a couple of shades that I won't be able to resist showing you. I would love to know if you guys have any of these palettes or if any of these have been in rotation in your collection or you have them in your wish list. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna move some of these palettes out of the way. We're gonna move these guys over to the side, and we're gonna just ignore the like random stuff that's on my desk. I'm sure I'm not the only YouTuber who's alone in having kind of like a crazy setup behind the camera. But we're gonna go ahead and talk first about some Viseart palettes. You guys have seen these, but we're going to start with Tyrian, which is just such a cool quad. And really the purple shades in here, there are just two purple shades, but it makes up 50% of the palette. And we have the shade Tyrian itself and this really beautiful duochrome Ren, which is purple toned with a little bit of a greenish shift to it. It's a really, really cool color, and yeah, I'm really glad to have this one in my collection. This was part of Viseart's winter collection, and yeah, these are really pretty. So I do have swatches of this one, and to the best of my ability, I'll try to link some of the existing swatches that I have of these palettes. Here we have London Étoile. Hi there, guys. There I am in the mirror. But we have London Étoile. This is not, but this is purple. Let's see, how do I want to describe this one? This is not an all purple palette, but the purple shades in here do anchor the palette, and obviously the packaging is going to be purple, but these are shades that play well with purple. So this was a release, I believe, that came out in 2021 or 22. I can't remember exactly, but they had an Étoile series. So this was one of those palettes, and as you can see, it has really cute artwork of the London skyline on here. Then we have some more Viseart here. We have Violette Vespertine. Again, this is one of the newer palettes that came out from Viseart. And this is a more muted purple color story. So you're not going to get those like bright, punchy purples, but this definitely is for the purple lover who likes something a little bit more subtle. Then we have Cashmere Charmeuse. This one is also a more muted purple touch palette, or touch of purple palette, you could argue. We have this one duochrome shade here that really is, I think, the most purple shade in the palette. The rest of the shades, they just have this kind of whisper of purple inspiration, but it's a largely like neutral, cool tone palette with this pop of purple duochrome in here, but it kind of belongs in the same family of purple tone palettes that Viseart's been releasing. So we have Violette Étendue. Now this is definitely a real true purple palette, and the shades in here are really stunning. The top row, as you can see, is more muted and subtle. It has those transition shades that will anchor your look, and then the bottom third of the palette is really where you get to see the purple character of this palette come out, and it's probably one of my favorite Viseart palette. Then we have the original Cashmere, again, a more muted take on purple, very dusty, but still really pretty for sophisticated looks. And these purple palettes play really nicely with each other. Okay, moving on, I have the Orchid You Not palette, and this one has really not gotten the use that it deserves, but I would say these are kind of more berry purple tones than very bright purple tones. We have the shade here of All Purple. It kind of reminds me of my nail polish a little bit, maybe a little more pink to it, but this is a really pretty purple palette that I'm actually pulling out so I can make myself use this one. It's one of the kind of OG packaging 9-pan palettes. I think Colourpop has shifted away from the plastic packaging like this, but I really liked these palettes because they were magnetic. Like the pans aren't glued in, so you can actually take these out. And I've actually depotted quite a few of my Colourpop palettes because the packaging was really taking up a lot of space and I wasn't necessarily reaching for the shades, but I managed to keep this one intact. And I'm pretty happy that I did because I do really like the design on here. It's a really cute palette. Then we have one of my all-time favorites. This is the Flight Club palette from Menagerie Cosmetics. I do believe that this is still available, but it's really, really stunning. And I will tell you, it gives me similar vibes to the newest Ultraviolet palette that was in collaboration with Deandreanicolleee and bellabeautebar. And these are both indie brands, so I'm just showing you guys these together. But they have similar vibes. But the thing with this one, this came out a while ago. I'm trying to think when this came out, but I've always liked this palette because you have your kind of neutral colors that are mattes that can ground the look and make this more wearable, but then you have these really beautiful special shades like the shimmers Menagerie does are really, really nice. I am going to go ahead and swatch these on some of these on my finger for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So yeah, here are the shades, the 5 shimmer shades in this palette. They're really, really pretty, and we'll go ahead and I'll swatch these for you. So yeah, just a gorgeous color story. You've got a variety of purples in here. The shimmers in here are just really, really beautiful on the eye. It's a little bit powdery. I didn't really do the best job swatching. Let's see if I can like fix that a little bit. Let's see. So there you go. Those are really, really pretty shimmers in this purple palette. And yeah, it's one of my favorites in my collection. I definitely want to wear this out more, but if you manage to pick this up off the Menagerie site, I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, here we have the Ultraviolet palette. This is the newest purple palette to my collection. This is in collaboration with Deandreanicolleee and bellabeautebar, and look at these shimmers and duochromes in here. She did an absolutely fantastic job collabing with the brand, and I love seeing creators work with indie brands to just create like these magical things. Like I think this palette is really special. It's very nuanced. You have the duochromes, you have the multi-chromes, and you have purple mattes, and this is purely purple. Like there's no neutral shade or anything like that. So if you really wanted to bring in like a brown, you would have to do that with another palette. However, these pans are removable. So if you wanted to do something custom, that is definitely an option. But I really think that this was a beautifully done true purple palette, and I'm really glad to have this one in my collection. Next palettes I'm going to show you guys, I did talk about in my declutter video, I think at pretty decent length, because this is a beautiful Beauty Bay palette that I don't think they have anymore. This doesn't have majority purple shades like some of the other palettes do, but I would say the purples that are in here are absolutely impactful. Like you have this shade Velvet. I mean, look at that. So you have this really deep purple matte, and you have this shade Ace, which is a purple shimmer. And I haven't seen anything quite like this. I don't have any shades quite like this in my collection. I think the closest would be like Viseart might have a deeper type of purple shade, but these are unique to me. And then you have your more berry toned purples in here that are also really stunning. So you've got these like warmer berry purples, and then that kind of lean pinkish, if you will, and then you've got like your true purples. And you have other shades in here that you can play with to balance the look if you don't want to go full ham on a purple look. But if you did, you have the option to do that. And this is just so incredibly pigmented. I wish Beauty Bay would bring this palette back because it's absolutely stunning. I have been a bit tempted by their Reckless Romance palette. That looks really pretty just because the quality of this has really pulled me in, and I have thought to myself, if the quality on Reckless Romance is at the same level of this palette, I'd be tempted to get it. So we'll see. This one is just really beautiful. It's never going to leave my collection, but I do wish that Beauty Bay would re-release this palette because it's absolutely gorgeous, and I do think the blues in here complement the purples really nice. Another palette that I have that is not all purple, but I argue has enough purple in it to be purple leaning, is this Michaela palette from Glamlite. And I really like the purple shimmers in here. We have the shade, I think, how do you pronounce that? Portage? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And the shade Immaculate. Like, these are so pretty. And then we have another shimmer called New Beige. I'm not sure of the the storyline behind like the names and stuff of the palette, but these are really beautiful purple shades. And I know Michaela, she has some purple in that P. Louise palette that she did. It was like a lot of blue, purple shades. So this kind of seems to be like very much like in her artistic direction when it comes to creating palettes. But I really like these shades in here, and I think this is a colorful palette, but the purple, it takes up a nice chunk. The fact that you have 6 shades out of the 30, so that's a pretty good ratio here for this to be like in the purple family. Like, honestly, these 5 shades could be a palette themselves. But yeah, these are really stunning. So that's why I pulled this one out, because it's not the most purple, but it's purple enough. I have another Colourpop palette that I would say is very cool toned. We have these very cool jewel tone, and if you look at this half of the palette here, we have quite a few purple shades. So they're a little bit lighter. They're not necessarily as bold, but I would still say like the shimmers, and this one's like really powdery. Like, we have like this kind of grayish purple lilac. You have this duochrome here. This one's a little bit of a softer finish. And then we have this shade here called Stargazing. So these are pretty cool tone shades, but they are solidly in the purple family. And just at first glance, when you look at this palette, and unless you're counting the number of purple shades out, at least in my view, I see these as pretty purple shades. Like the shade No Sleep, this is a very pale purple shade, like a lilac color. Really pretty, almost milky, like a little bit chalky color, but it's a purple pastel. What I love about purple is that there are varieties and shades and tones, and this palette is definitely a demonstration of how purples can be very different. So I feel like we couldn't talk about purple palettes without including the ABH Norvina palette. This one came out quite a while ago, but I've loved having this one in my collection. Okay, here we go. As you can see inside, we have obviously a good number of purple palettes. You have like your pastel purples in here, and we have a more warm purple, a more cool purple. We have you know, deeper purples here. We've got like a berry shade and a variety of shimmer purples, and some of the more neutral tones to balance that out. In some ways, this kind of reminds me of a bigger version of like the Viseart palettes, like more consolidated. There is a glitter shade in here that I don't really use. I think I've just swatched it, so I don't really love that it has that, but This has some other really stunning shades. You can get really creative with this one, and I've loved having it in my collection. And yeah, I really enjoy this one. It's really, really pretty. Just for good measure, I'm going to show you these mattes. Like they're really nice. Like these are really, really pretty for like a purple pastel look. And then I think this is probably my most used shimmer in this palette, A3. It just looks wet on the finger and on the eye. So yeah, another really beautiful purple palette. Okay guys, you're gonna have to forgive me because I forgot the name of this palette. I'm gonna have to put it in the description box, but this is a Lethal Cosmetics palette. This is another purple with touches of blue, kind of like the Beauty Bay palette. And this is one that I need to put into rotation, guys. I might have used this like once. I've swatched it for sure, but obviously look at how beautiful these shades are. And it does have, again, like kind of like a creamy shade here that you can use to blend out your looks and things like that. And we've got some stunning blue shades. We've got a gray. I think gray and purple look really, really pretty together. But as you can see, the majority of the shades in this palette are purple tone. So this is one that I definitely need to use more. I know Lethal's coming out with some really exciting products that look really, really gorgeous. Some duochromes and multi-chromes. And as tempted as I am to get those, I'm kind of controlling myself until I get some more use out of this palette because it's absolutely stunning. I need to use it more. And yeah, it's really, really, really beautiful and nicely curated. This next palette that I'm going to show you, it's not the most purple. Obviously the packaging is purple and really there's not a ton of purple in here, but as you can see, there are three shades in here that I think are just some of the most standout purple shades I have in my eyeshadow collection. We have this shade, it's ACI 19. If you can see in the mirror a little bit, it shifts a little bit kind of greeny gold, but when you're looking at it straight on, it does look purple. And then we have this shade Ninhydrin, and then we have AC 123, which is another purpley shade, and I've swatched them so that you can see what I'm talking about. Like on camera, they're looking purple, but like depending on the shift, and I'm having a hard time really showing you guys, they do shift. Like these two shades right here, like from my perspective, looking at them in person, like there's a greenish tilt slash shift to them. And I'm see if I could like get away with if you guys can see that or not. Let's see. So this is what I'm talking about. Just ignore the stuff in the background. So we have this greenish shift that happens. So head on, it's looking purple, but then you get these really cool shifts. And that's one thing I love about Adept Cosmetics formula. It's just so nuanced and really interesting. And so even though this is technically not going to be like a majority purple palette, the three shades in here that shift purple, they are purple. Like they're gorgeous. They're really stunning shades. So this is one of my favorite Adept Cosmetics palettes for that reason. And yeah, really glad to have this one. I think all the colors are in here are beautiful, but as far as like purple shades, those are really unique and stunning. Last but not least, I have my Gothic palette. Please ignore the fingerprints on it, guys. I am over here wiping my hands down in between takes, and sometimes the residue on there is like getting on the palette itself, but that's because I'm just trying to keep it clean between takes. But this is what I have on my eyes today. I actually wore this palette for the first time today. I've had it for a while. I picked this up when I got the last Cosmic Beauty release, which was the Winter Wonderland palette, which is absolutely stunning. That one is very blue and this one's purple. And I have been having a moment with cool tones, and I really like how the shades look on the eye. The only thing I will say is that I did notice some creasing, so I'm gonna have to play around with this one to see if I just need to try a different primer. But with this one, I am reminded that sometimes when you have the more textured lids, like these creamier shimmers and duochromes, they will get trapped in the folds of the skin. So you have to be aware of that when you're using some of these I guess like, I don't know if it's like thick is the word to describe it, but like the formulation is a little bit more emollient and it can move around a little bit more. So I'm gonna play around with different primers to see if I can get away with a little less creasing. However, it doesn't take away from how pretty this palette is. And as you can see, I haven't used it quite enough, but there are some really beautiful shades in here. I'm gonna swatch the shimmery ones so you guys can see. Look at how pretty those are. And this shade called Obscure, it's looking kind of white, but it has a kind of lavender lilac shift to it. It's absolutely stunning. It's an inner corner shade. And then as far as the mattes go, guys, like these mattes are unreal, just like super pigmented. It's a beautiful palette. I think it's very nicely curated. For them to be able to get this much impact into a 12 pan eyeshadow palette is pretty impressive, especially at their price point. They're, I would argue, one of the more affordable indie brands, and you get some really beautiful color stories, lovely formulas. Just it's a really fun brand. I'm really glad to have this one in my collection. So even though this was more on a whim, I'm glad that I picked this one up. Okay, friends, that is it for my purple palette collection. I think I have enough purple in my collection. I think it's really helpful to dig into your collection, see what you already have, shop your stash, remind yourself of things that you bought, knowing that you were gonna love it, because I feel like things move so quickly in the makeup world. It's really easy to forget what you already have in your collection. And purple is one of those color stories that I find myself just drawn to over and over and over again, as you can see. So it's really nice to just remind myself what I have as new releases are coming out, and hopefully I'll be able to get some more use out of these really fun purple palettes. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, if this was helpful, interesting, fun for you. Definitely leave a comment down below. Make sure to like this video and please consider subscribing to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, I definitely will see you guys in the next video. I'll show my face, but I thought it would be fun to just get this up for you guys and show you just some fun purple palettes. Let me know what you guys have in your collection or what you would like to have, or if you saw anything that just really struck your fancy. I'd be happy to do, you know, more in depth if there's a specific palette that you're interested in. But yeah, thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you for sure in the next video. Bye.